With agriculture, we don't have to crash in any time. Oil prices crash in the international market. We have our farmers to thank for that assurance. We will also take precautions against bad harvest. A day like this provides good networking opportunities for farmers and stakeholders in the agricultural sector. I urge you to make the best use of it.
President Buhari describes the Nigerian farmers as the nation's authentic heroes for today, tomorrow, and evermore. Guinea-Bissau is set for the 2019 presidential election this Sunday as the former Portuguese colonies search for political stability. ECOWAS Election Observation Mission and its partners say they are maintaining their neutral role as they expect a peaceful election. Musbao Danwahab tells us more.
Guinea-Bissau was just rescued from anarchy of two representations when President José Mario Vaz, late October, sacked Prime Minister Aristides Gomes and appointed a replacement. However, ECOWAS aligned with Gomes and insisted that his sacking was illegal. It was the latest of the political crisis that ECOWAS has solved in the country since 2015. Now going to the poll. The world is literally standing by Guinea-Bissau as heads of election observation missions have been in serial meetings with neutral disposition, peaceful election, and political stability dominating discussions. They believe that a credible election this time around will provide a new sound footing for good governance in the country.
Now we are coming to, hopefully, to the end of a democratic process that hopefully again will grant the people of Guinea-Bissau peace and stability.
Head of ECOWAS Election Observation Mission has met with President José Mario Vaz, Prime Minister Gomes and the electoral body to ensure a peaceful election.
We also expect that the candidate will play by the rules.
There has been an intimate connection between elections and coups in Guinea-Bissau, and so the international community is asking that military should remain in the barracks and allow a peaceful electoral process. In Bissau, Musbao and Wahab, NTA News.
And back home, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has reiterated the commitment of the federal government to ensure that all Nigerians have access to affordable, efficient, and equitable health care services. This was at the presentation of certificates to participants of Senior Executive Course 41 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru, Jos Plateau State. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports that the Vice President also called on the Institute to formulate strategies for effective implementation of government's plans.
Nigeria has never been a shortage of ideas. Never been. There is no policy that is not somewhere, that has not been thought of, that is not lying down somewhere. The problem has always been implementation. NIPS must graduate from a think tank to a do's bank.
Following the ongoing modernization and expansion of the railway lines across the country, the 81 Division Ordnance's tailoring factory and printing press situated in Yaba, Lagos State are to be relocated to Ekpe, local government area of the state. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa covered the groundbreaking ceremony for the project at the new site.
This signifies the commencement of development of structures to accommodate the Army tailoring factory and printing press. The 440 hectare of land, the old Army barracks, which the Lagos State University is occupying part of it, was said to have been acquired about 5 decades ago.
The restructuring of the Nigerian Army in 1990 resulted in merging of some units and abandonment of some barracks. Ekpe became one of such barracks that was abandoned. The Lagos State government then, having observed reduced military activities in Ekpe, requested for the use of the barracks as a satellite campus for the Lagos State University. The request was subsequently granted. Thus, the Nigerian Army ceded the developed area measuring 48.8 hectares to the Lagos State government, while the remaining 391.2 hectares still remain the Nigerian Army property.
The project, when completed, will further develop and secure Ekpe.
With the relocation of the 81 base ordnance depot to Ekpe and the consequent hosting of Nigerian Army presence here, will have positive impact on the security of the environment.
Minister of Transport Rotimi Amechi represented described the ongoing development in the railway sector as significant towards poverty reduction.
The railway modernization project to link Lagos to Ibadan with standard gauge affected some units of the Nigerian Army at Yaba corridor. Consequently, it became necessary to seek the understanding of the Nigerian Army to relocate these units to facilitate progress in the much-needed development of transportation infrastructure.
The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuku Buratai, also inaugurated projects at the supply and transport section of the Arakan Barrack, Apapa, Lagos. From Lagos, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, wants the contractor handling the Lagos-Ibadan rail project to integrate and narrow the standard rail gauge to save cost and ensure timely completion of the projects. While on another round of inspection of the rail project, the minister said the pace of work has significantly improved since its last inspection, but expressed dissatisfaction with the level of work done at the substations along the Lagos axis, except for the one at Kajola, which the minister said is remarkable.
The stations are upcoming. You can see when we stopped at Kajola. I don't know whether it's because I threatened them in Kajola, but Kajola has gone further than all other stations. The equipment they are expecting have arrived at the seaport. They intend to clear them in the next 1 week or 2 weeks. So we expect that roofing should be completed both in Kajola and here in 2 to 3 weeks' time. What is key is communication and signal, and I hear the equipment have also started arriving.
The minister further charged the contractor to engineer a tremendous turnaround at the Abeokuta station before the second week of January. The Nigerian Air Force is fast-tracking the presidential directive for the armed forces to source for their uniforms and allied operational products locally in the overall interest of boosting national productivity. The chief of the air staff was at the Zaria Industries Limited, one of the moribund textile industries, to explore convenient areas of partnership. Suleiman Abdullahi Rigachukun reports.
Zaria Industries Limited is a pioneer public textile company that specialized in the production of textiles-related wares for military operations. For close to 2 decades, the industry has joined the League of Moribund Textile Industries in the country, in line with the federal government commitment to revive such ailing companies and in compliance with the directive by President Muhammadu Buhari. Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, stormed the Zaria Industries Limited to assess its production capacity with the aim of partnership for the production of tarpaulins and bulletproof vests, among other fabrics, necessary for ground operations of the Nigerian Air Force.
The Nigerian Air Force will patronize what they have here. The quality is high quality and it meets our standards. There are so many things that we can get out of this facility that will help us in what we are doing in our training institutions, in our bases, in our quick response units, and I have already directed that we should get all that they are doing and study it, and then immediately interact with them and see how we can acquire, especially for our bases, particularly Katsina, where some of these things we have, they are out there in the open.
Managing Director of the industry, Ilyas Usali, appreciated the zeal of the Chief of the Air Staff in encouraging innovation and patronage of locally manufactured goods for the Nigerian Air Force, assuring him the factory's capacity of producing quality products for the armed forces. In Kaduna, I am Suleiman Abdullahi Rigachukun, NTA News.
In another development, military officers have been enjoined to remain committed to protecting the nation's territorial integrity in the face of insurgency in the West African sub-region. The Director General of the Nigerian Army Resource Center, Major General Garba Ayodeji Wahab, stated this while decorating an officer recently promoted by the Nigerian Army. Austin Anyibe has more.
Director General Nigerian Army Resource Center, Major General Garba Wahab, explains that the army was overwhelmed with security challenges confronting the nation in all fronts, but has been able to surmount them through the hard-working officers and men of the Nigerian Armed Forces. The recent promotion, which is said aimed at motivating them to do more, while decorating the newly promoted officer, Brigadier General Tuku Goso, who served with Operation Lafia Dole and currently with the Nigerian Army Resource Center. He taxed him on loyalty to the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
They are supposed to be warlords, commanders, and Little Art, when talking about strategy, said strategy is our generalship.
You have been doing very well. There is reason for you to do more.
But there is no substitute to loyalty. Loyalty to constitutional authority. That I mean the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces.
The newly promoted officer pledged to redouble his efforts in the military service.
Served in quite a number of places, particularly in the theater of operation. So I will, with all sense of modesty, say I know exactly what it means to have a good civil-military relation.
I wish him God blessings, and I just hope more promotions will come in future.
The Nigerian Army recently promoted several officers across various military formations. In Abuja, Austin Anyibe, NTA News.
Away from the Nigerian Army now, recalcitrant obligors who deploy all manner of jurisprudential technicalities to frustrate Assets Management Corporation of Nigerian AMCON debtor recovery efforts may have a rethink. This is because AMCON Act of 2019 has been extensively amended, equipping it with powers to speedily recover troubled assets within its sunset date. This was the subject of discussion at a seminar for Court of Appeal judges in Abuja. Vera Chimuba reports that some gray areas of the act were also pointed out.
5 trillion naira debt may be on its way to be recovered, and that necessitated the amendment of the AMCON Act. The Act empowers AMCON to criminalize certain acts, prosecute name and shame obligors, demand obligors' account details, and the banks are to comply. It also mandated the courts to prescribe that AMCON appeals should be determined within 60 days, while heads of courts are to prescribe exclusive practice direction. A legal practitioner, Muyiwa Balogu, in his review of the Act, said the Act has conferred AMCON with special powers to discharge its obligations. President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Zainab Kachua, has directed the establishment of task force to resolve all AMCON appeals.
For AMCON to succeed, the support of the judiciary is decisive, as the distinguished judiciary is the last hope of AMCON.
Managing Director of AMCON appealed for support in the implementation of the Act.
We have about 350 obligors out of the 12,700 that own more than 80% of the 5.4 trillion that we are talking about.
Justices from different divisions of the court advocated criminalization of all anomalies in the banking sector.
Allow them to go to jail for me, and then we have started taking good steps for recovering this money.
All would have expected that before the amendment was carried out, there would have been a sort of incremental action like this.
Unless AMCON has enormous powers, its impact in debt recovery will not be felt.
In Abuja, Vera Chumuba, NTA News.
You are watching the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja. Stay tuned for more reports after the break.
Now.
You're welcome back. Following the spate of fire outbreaks in some parts of the country, President Muhammadu Buhari has given marching orders to the Ministry of Interior to do everything humanly possible to mitigate such incidents which pose serious threat to the lives and property of Nigerians. In view of this, the Ministry of Interior is engaging state governments to seek their collaboration with the Federal Fire Service for prompt and efficient emergency service delivery. Doyin Dia is in Umuahia, Abia State, where one of such meetings was held.
Within the last 2 months, more than 10 major fire incidents were recorded in the country, with investment worth billions of naira being destroyed and some lives lost. A worrisome development which is generating concerns amongst Nigerians. For President Muhammadu Buhari, there must be a better approach to ensuring safer atmosphere where investment and the lives of Nigerians can be secured even in times of unexpected emergency situations such as these. The federal government, through the Ministry of Interior and the Federal Fire Service, is collaborating with states to ensure that it strengthens fire services across the state and build their capacity to be able to mitigate as well as respond swiftly during fire outbreaks.
The public safety component has to do with ensuring that the Federal Fire Service, the presence is felt all over this country, and that we are positioned to be able to respond to the major disaster.
In the space of things that the bond between the Federal Fire Service and the Abia State government will grow from strength to strength.
Abia State will host one of the largest markets in this country. It is an added advantage. We are much more encouraged to encourage our people to produce, because apart from what we are going to do as a state, that the federal government is also interested in this space.
The meeting ended on a positive note, with the state government donating 10 hectares of land for the takeoff of the Fire Training Institute. Doyin Dia, NTA News.
The National Population Commission has unveiled the 2018 Demographic and Health Survey report. Victoria Kaswa-Ojito reports that data collected will assist policymakers in programs, formulation and implementation.
It is the presentation of the 2018 Nigeria Demographic and Health Survey report conducted nationwide from August to December of 2018. The survey sampled households to gather reliable data of Nigerians on health indicators such as fertility, family planning methods, breastfeeding practice, nutritional status of women and children, domestic violence, and women empowerment. It also captured disability status of Nigerians for the first time, the result of which is expected to assist in planning for the welfare of persons living with disabilities in the country.
That new innovative approaches were used in the conduct of the 2018 NDHS survey.
I therefore implore all the critical stakeholders in both public and private sector and the academia to make maximum use of this report in order to achieve its objectives.
The survey is the 6th conducted in Nigeria since 1990. In Lafia, Victoria Kaswa-Ojito, NTA News.
Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa and the 7th most populous in the world, with an estimated population of approximately 182.2 million. Worried by the United Nations 2015 projection that Nigeria will be the 3rd most populated country in the world by 2020 is a reason for the annual demographic lecture, with focus on harnessing 21st century innovations to achieve demographic dividend. Basi Taikpang has details.
Nigeria is currently in the middle of a demographic transition, with fertility and mortality rates beginning to fall. This expose has enormous implications for the development of the country because of the changes that it brings to the age structure of the population.
On the one hand, you talk about population control, you're opposed. Let us talk about population management. Let's use those words now. If we talk about family planning, you're opposed. If we talk about birth spacing, you are embraced.
Now, 70% of the Nigerian population consists of the youths. And if you don't
look at how to manage this youth, this aspect of the population, then you are in trouble.
The lecture stimulated high-level discussions on the challenges of Nigeria's population and development.
And on the basis of that, we'll then be able to project for education, we'll be able to project for medicals, we'll be able to project for employment, and we'll also be able to look at things like retirement ages and what we do with our people, or how to even manage people from when they are born to when they retire.
The major thing that I think is determining population has to do with education attainment. For every country that has been able to develop, fertility has reduced.
The lecture, which is the 7th in the series, emphasizes the need to conduct a national census. Basi Taipang, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari joins the media industry in celebrating renowned journalist and former Vice President Zone H of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Otumba Gbenga Onaiga, who turns 60. Congratulating him for worthy service to the nation and humanity. A statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President, Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, says, the President felicitates with Otumba Onaiga's family, friends, and professional colleagues on the milestone, which has been signposted by many years of diligent work and lofty experience as a political correspondent and editor with the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, who masterfully reported on political events of the Second, Third, and Fourth Republics. President Buhari congratulating him for worthy service to the nation and praise for longer life, good health, and more wisdom for the renowned journalists. And now foreign news. The U.S. State Department has released records relating to the Trump administration's dealings with Ukraine. The records show repeated contacts between Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Mr. Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. U.S. ties with Ukraine are at the center of an impeachment investigation against Mr. Trump. The president is accused of withholding aid to Ukraine that had been approved by Congress to pressure the country into investigating his political rival, Joe Biden. Mr. Trump has declared the inquiry a witch hunt and denies any wrongdoing. And that's the news. Thank you for watching. Good evening.